Productivity is a trap. The day will never arrive when you finally have everything under control. The average human lifespan is shockingly only about 4,000 weeks, and I just spent 4,000 hours coloring this in, so life will pass us by like that. I'm a pretty bad snapper. If we spend it stuck in the productivity hamster wheel. Our endless search for the perfect system, whether that is the perfect Notion template, perfectly time-blocked calendar, or all the productivity hacks in the world, is a complete losing game because none of these will help you get everything done, help you use your time 100% efficiently, avoid FOMO, or change the world. So let's correct these 4 productivity lies in this video, starting with the fact that you literally physically can't do everything. I cannot tell you what a big sense of relief it was when I realized this. The fact that no productivity technique will change the fact that you literally physically cannot do everything, aka sacrifices will always have to be made. And that also means guilting and shaming yourself for not getting everything done is really silly because that is already setting yourself up for an impossible standard. You know what I mean? Like, you cannot be like, put 100 things on your list and be like, okay, cool, it's all on my list, so all of it has to get done. And this is an example I see all the time with business owners where we're like, I need to be making content on YouTube, on X, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Facebook, on Threads. We need to be doing all of those because everybody else is making content on everything. And then you put all those things on your list and then you're upset with yourself when you cannot stay consistent on more than 2 platforms for longer than a week. The problem is not you. The problem is not that you're not efficient enough. The problem is not that you don't have a good enough content workflow. The problem is not that you're not working enough hours. The problem is you are setting an impossible standard for yourself. So my question to you here is, are your demands of yourself actually reasonable? Would you be telling your business best friend, if you are not making content on every single platform every single week consistently till the end of time, then you're a bad business owner and you're lazy? Would you be telling her that? Are you good? Ginger has zoomies. Ginger is in a rush to get everything done. She did not read 4,000 Weeks yet. So here comes one of my absolute favorite quotes, not just in this book, but favorite quotes of all time. This completely changed my perspectives on so many things. It can't be the case that you must do more than you can do. You'll do what you can, you won't do what you can't, and the tyrannical inner voice insisting that you must do everything is simply mistaken. If you have 6 hours to work every single day, you will work 6 hours, and anything that is on your list that you cannot finish in those 6 hours, it's unrealistic standards. You've put too much on your plate. That's why in my Notion weekly plan template, yeah, my system's better than it. My system will actually help you get everything. That's why in my Notion weekly plan template, I actually make sure you set constraints on your time so that you don't just put 100 things on your daily to-do list and then you're upset that you didn't do it all. So this is just a little visual I made in terms of a big issue I see with what most business owners do. They spread their finite time and energy into a million different directions when what is actually better is focusing your finite time and energy on just a few things and doing those few things really, really well. The point of business is not to do a million things at once. The point is to do 1 to 2, maybe maximum 3 things really well, because that's the only way you're going to get any amount of traction and momentum in your business. You can't take on an infinite amount of work. And I don't know about you, but that is very freeing to me actually, to have somebody be like, you actually cannot do it factually. You know what I mean? And I know you think you are the exception to that. You're the one who can actually do everything, that can actually fit in all the important stuff. And if you just optimize your day a little bit better, you would be able to do it. But chances are you're not. A huge issue with this misconception that you can get everything done is that you treat all potential tasks as if they are equally important. Because if I can do everything, then I will get everything done and I'll just do them one thing after another, right? So the really hard truth here is, and I'm very sorry to say it, but it's possible you're not making any decisions or progress because fantasizing about the infinite possibilities of the future and all the things you could possibly do is more comfortable than confronting the fact that we have limitations, that this is reality. So what should you do? Do this instead. Constraints. Constraints is the key to almost everything in my life. So the rule here is only 3 active projects at a time. I have done this in my business for as long as I know how. I feel like once I get past the 3, it starts to get a little bit harder to keep track of. I feel a bit more like distracted and pulled into different directions. So keep it to 3. That's what Oliver recommends as well in the book, is maximum 3. So you can start new things, but you can only start them once you have closed the loop on one of your 3 existing things. So my example is currently my 3 big things are YouTube, writing my book proposal, very stressful. No, not stressful. It's exciting. It's scary. And finishing my course audit. So I have tons of other projects on my list that I want to do. I will only start one of those things once I have finished one of my existing 3 things. And I've seen this as well in working with all the different types of freelance clients that I've gotten. So 6- and 7-figure business owners. One of the biggest detriments to a business if the CEO is constantly opening a ton of jars. So what do I mean? They're like, ooh, what's in this jar? They open it. Ooh, what's in this jar? Threads, interesting. They open the jar, they leave it open. Ooh, what's in this jar? Should we make this new product? I just heard this is quite a good idea to like start building a product, a high ticket coaching offer. They open the jar. So my advice, finish the jar before you open a new one. My suggestion is one project for making your product or service great. So that could be optimizing your product, it could be auditing it, it could be getting customer feedback, going to do customer research and redoing your product. It could be delivering on your service so that your clients are super happy. Next project, generating leads. So that could be getting started with paid advertising. It could be developing out a content channel like YouTube or podcasting or TikTok, whatever that might look like for you. And a third project for making sales. So what is actually going to get money into your business? That could be working on your sales funnel. That could be optimizing your sales page. That could be working on developing out the offer better. It could be working on upsells for your products. Now, if you're just getting started with your business, I don't recommend doing all 3 of these at the same time because that will probably be quite overwhelming for you to start with. So what I would recommend instead, if you are a beginner, is start with it in this order. So start with first just one project. So not 3, just one, in making sure your product or service is actually great, because that is the foundation of any single successful business I have ever seen. And then once you think you have that, you beta tested it, that's when you can move on to a project that begins generating leads and then begin making sales. And when you have a good product and you have good lead flow, sales will be super easy. So that project could just come naturally already. That's what happened to me as well. When I focused on making sure my product was truly excellent, talking to my customers, making sure it's exactly what they needed, what their pain points were, and all of that stuff, I was already making great sales. And I didn't even actively focus on developing a sales funnel yet or anything like that. I, for a long time, was super stuck on which social media platform to use. I posted a little bit on X, posted a little bit on TikTok, posted a little on Instagram, posted a little on LinkedIn, super frustrating, all of that stuff. Then I was like, this is not working. I need to, instead of trying to do a million things, I just need to do one thing and I need to commit to that one thing. And that is what you saw happen here on YouTube. I committed to doing YouTube very seriously. I basically ditched everything else. I didn't post on TikTok, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, only Instagram stories for fun, but I didn't post on my feed for years. And I just focused and I went all in on YouTube. And it took time, but now YouTube is my biggest platform. And I don't think that could have happened if I had been focused on doing all the other platforms as once. So my other question for you here is, if you could only pick one lead strategy to go all in on for 1 year, what would it be? If it's cold pitching, let's say you're a freelancer, you want to land clients, cold pitching is a great lead gen system. Create a system for it, do it for 1 year. A system could be every single week I will send out 5 cold pitches and I will follow up twice with each of those pitches. If you want to do YouTube, create a system. So for me, I was like, I'm going to publish 1 to 2 videos every single week for the next 52 weeks, and then I will see what happens. So my more tangible, actionable task for you. Number 1, pick something that will get you to where you want to go. So that's very important. Don't just pick something random. Pick something that will actually lead to, and you see other people who have picked this thing get to where you want to go. Create a system, make a commitment to it. Tell me what it is below, because then we can hold you accountable. And then ignore everything else for that time commitment, no matter how shiny it is, no matter how everybody keeps telling you, oh my gosh, but Threads is so great, you should really be on Threads. Ignore it and just focus on your one thing. All right, so now let's move on to the second lie, which is somehow with the best system in the entire world, the best productivity hacks and tricks, you will be able to use your time 100% optimally. You will spend every minute of your day will be peak productivity. So the central question I feel like of productivity and the discourse around productivity is, how do you spend your time as efficiently as possible? The thought being, time is only valuable and well spent if it is somehow productive. Which is a very dangerous thought, because there are 2 big issues that happen with that. Number 1, the first issue is if you're always chasing and living for the future, right? Optimizing today so that you have a better future, which I mean inherently is not a bad thing, but if you're always doing that, you will never arrive anywhere. You will always be chasing. It's like an endless hamster wheel. You'll just always be chasing this like, one day, if this happens, then I will blah, blah, blah. And you're never like sitting in the present moment, just being like, look at where I am. How cool is it that I'm here? And I noticed that even right now, as I'm filming this YouTube video, this is very meta, I'm like, for so long, I was like, I want to have a YouTube channel. I want to have a YouTube channel. And sometimes when I film videos, I'm still like rushing to get through the video to be able to finish the video and publish it and start a new video, right? Instead of just being like, here I am, I'm filming a video. How cool is that? Someone's gonna watch this. And you'll often notice that when you think like this too much, you also begin moving the goalposts always out of reach, right? You're like, when I make $1,000 a month, oh my gosh, I will be so satisfied with myself. Then you make it there and you're like, when I get to $5,000 a month, then I will be successful. Then you get there and then you're like, actually, when I get to $10,000 a month, ooh, that's exciting. That's when I'll know that I've made it. It just goes on and on and on. This happens in business all the time. And that's why a lot of people end up building these humongous businesses that they actually loathe because they're just chasing this arbitrary thing that they didn't really intentionally pick or choose for themselves. You know what I mean? The second issue with thinking of time as a resource to be used, and the fact that time is only valuable if it's being used properly, is I think very quickly your self-worth gets wrapped up into that, and essentially defined by how optimally you spend your time. So the tricky thing about having your self-worth be defined by how optimally you spend your time is you start saying things like, oh, I didn't get everything on my to-do list done today. Oh my gosh, I suck. I'm so lazy. Like, it used to be that when I would get sick and I couldn't do my work for a day, I would get so stressed out because I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't output any work today. I was sick. I didn't feel well. What if I'm sick more in the future and I can't output anything? Then who am I even? And like, what's my point? And all this stuff. It could also lead you down a path where you don't allow yourself to relax because that's not a good use of time, or relax enough to enjoy hobbies because that's not a productive use of time for future yourself, or time with family and friends without guilt and shaming yourself. Sad. I think that's really sad. That's really sad. And of course, all of that will eventually lead to burnout. So instead of playing that game until the end of time, because there is evidently an end of time, pick and do an italic activity. I really hope I'm saying that right because I did not look it up, for 30 minutes this week. So an italic activity, which is a hard thing to say, defined by Oliver, is an activity where the value of the activity isn't derived from its telos or ultimate aim. So basically, it is an activity where you're not doing it for the point of finishing it and having the thing, the result, which I think happens a lot more than we think, right? So the question here is, what do you do for the process of doing it, not the result? You know what I mean? So I'll give you some examples in a second, but the task here is to pick something to do for the enjoyment of doing it, not to finish it, and do 30 minutes of it, and tell me what it is if you're gonna do one, because I'm incredibly nosy and I wanna know this. And bonus points here is to make a business activity, make a business task more italic this week. Because I feel like in business, a lot of things we do for our business, I wanna say like 99% of what we do in business is italic, right? We're doing it for the reason of finishing it. We're not doing it for the enjoyment of it. Like, you know, when we are working on our sales funnel, we're not doing it because we're like, oh my God, this is a blast. You know, some people might be like, sometimes I enjoy working on my sales funnel. For the most part though, we're focused on how quickly can I finish this so that it's done and it can be done and I can check it off my list. I feel like so much of business is about checking things off the list as quickly as possible. And that's kind of sad because we work on our businesses for a lot of hours every single week. And how sad is it to just try to rush through absolutely everything you're doing every single week? You know what I mean? Like filming this YouTube video. There's a big part of me that has always been like, finish the YouTube video as fast as you can so that it's checked off and it can be finished and it can be off of your list. And just recently I started thinking like, how sad is that? Because I really enjoy making YouTube videos, but I don't enjoy it when I feel super rushed to check it off my list. And so today I tried something different. I just decided this video will take as long as it takes. I took my time with it and I'm having way more fun filming this video than when I feel rushed to tick something off of my list. So some of my examples, non-business examples of italic activities, I do a lot of them. I love puzzling. I really enjoy puzzling. I love doing paint by the numbers. I really enjoy the process of it. I love playing video games. I really enjoy the process of playing video games. Recently, I've also been doing more crafting and collaging, and I'm really enjoying the process of collaging as well. So it's been really special to like have things to do where the point of doing it is not to just check it off the list, just to be like, I'm enjoying myself. This is fun. Like, I hope this goes on forever. That's the goal. We want to get to places where we have things we do in our life where we're like, I hope I get to do this forever. All right, the third big productivity lie is that if you have the perfect system, you will never feel FOMO, fear of missing out. You will never miss out on anything because you will do everything. The reality here is there is something called JOMO, joy of missing out. And I love this concept. There is so much joy in missing out. And if you're somebody who often likes to stay at home instead of going into a party, which relatable, the reality check here is that life offers an infinite amount of experiences. You could open a coffee shop, you could open a bookshop, you could go travel full-time, you could become a bank accountant, you could adopt 15 kids, you could adopt 3 cats, you could have 1 kid, you could marry this person, you could marry that person, you could, I don't know, dye your hair blue, you could go and run a marathon, you could go and spend all of your money, you could spend none of your money. There are a million things you can do. So the reality is you will miss out on most of these experiences. And that is a wonderful thing. Your choices and priorities are meaningful exactly because you are missing out on other choices. It is what gives your choices meaning that you are choosing this thing and missing out on everything else. You know what I mean? It's just like, you know, the fact that most people can only marry one person. The fact that you're choosing to marry that one person when you could marry so many people, hundreds, millions of other people, that's what makes that marriage choice special. The lesson here is to be brave enough to make a decision instead of being stuck in over-analysis forever. One little step that you think like, okay, I think this might be the right thing for me. I don't know, I'll try it out. Knowing that you can always change your mind and you can always unmake that decision, that is incredibly powerful. And something that Oliver also talks about, which I found really interesting, is the fact that your semi-priorities are actually the most dangerous to you in your life. So he says, in a world of too many big rocks, it's the moderately appealing ones, like the fairly interesting job opportunity or the semi-enjoyable friendship on which a finite life can come to grief. So basically what he's saying is we might all have our highest priorities and then we'll have like the next layer of priorities, right? So let's say your highest priority is to build a successful digital business. That's like super important to you. You're like, this is really what I want. But there are also some other things that are kind of interesting. Like, for example, starting an award-winning podcast, founding a 6-figure content agency. That's maybe like some stuff that you're like, ooh, that's really interesting as well. Not as interesting as building a successful business, but this is kind of interesting. So Oliver is saying the medium priority stuff, those are the things that have the highest potential to distract you from your true highest priority. So he says, they're the ambitions insufficiently important to him to form the core of his life, yet seductive enough to distract him from the ones that matter most. So here's my example of JOMO. So I get brand pitches to integrate brand sponsorships into my YouTube videos every single day in my inbox. I put up a screenshot you can see here, multiple every single day. The potential new revenue stream is extremely exciting, right? Because who doesn't love a new revenue stream? And some of the brands are actually very interesting and I would be very curious and I think it would be a good fit to potentially work together. But I haven't done a single brand sponsorship or integration in the past 150 plus YouTube videos. Why? Because that would distract from the most important thing here on YouTube for me, which is you guys and the trust that we have together. When I integrate a brand, there is a lot of thinking I have to do about how to make sure it is valuable and interesting and useful for you guys because I don't want to erode my highest priority. And I'm not saying I will never do one because chances are I will, but that's just one example of something that is really interesting, something that might help with this thought of like, I'm missing out on some things and that's really hard, is what is the opportunity win of missing out? You know how people always talk about the opportunity cost, like, oh, what's the opportunity cost of saying no? Like, what are you gonna lose? What about the opportunity win? Right? So for me, the opportunity win of saying no to some of these brand sponsorships is I get to make content that I really enjoy without feeling any limitations, without having to go back and forth with people and make sure that they're happy with it and protect the audience's trust. So your task here is to make a not to-do list. So pull out a piece of paper, make a not to-do list and put 2 to 3 things on it. On my not to-do list, posting on LinkedIn. There's always a small part of me that's like, you should just repurpose stuff on LinkedIn, just do it, blah, blah, blah. It's on my not to do list. And the opportunity win is I get my headspace and time to dedicate to YouTube instead. Huge win, because that's my number one priority. Next thing, making a certain new product idea that I have on my list. So the opportunity win there is more time to make your current offer better. That's such a good opportunity win. Pitching to be on podcast, maybe that's on your not to do list now because you're always very seduced by it. So the opportunity win there, again, more time and energy to focus on your biggest priority. So the last productivity lie is if you are perfectly productive, if you are hyper efficient, if you have the best systems in the entire world, you can change the world. And this is about to get a little bit philosophical, a little bit more woo-woo, but stick with me because this will potentially lift a big, heavy burden off of your shoulders. This quest to justify your existence in the eyes of some outside authority can continue long into adulthood, but at a certain age, it finally dawns on us that shockingly, no one really cares what we're doing with our life. The thought here, I think, is if I just optimize enough, my productivity will have a massive impact. And the real reality is, I don't know if this is the case for you, but I'm just gonna say it. You don't have to justify your existence to anyone. You don't have to change the world to make your existence matter. Do not let hustle culture dictate what you need to accomplish or output or get done to justify self-worth. No amount of productivity or output or work or anything like that will take or remove anything from your self-worth. You can also let go of the burden and pressure of having to do something insanely remarkable that nobody has ever done before. It's fine if you don't do that. It's cool if you want to do that, but it's fine if you don't. And I see this all the time with myself as well, that I'm like, oh my gosh, I could never do this. I could never post on YouTube. What would other people think? First of all, nobody is thinking about you. Nobody's thinking about you. If they are, they're not thinking about you that much. And if they are thinking about you that much, that's very weird on their part, and that has nothing to do with you. And sure, we matter, and what we do matters, and I feel like this is the biggest irony about human existence. Is like, yes, we matter, you matter, I matter, but also in the grand scheme of things, we don't really. Nothing really matters either. You know what I mean? And it doesn't really have to be that serious. Like, it's not really a big deal if I don't send out this email today. It's not really a big deal if this product goes live next week or this week. It's not really a big deal if my business makes $10,000 more this year or not. This is one of my favorite posters. I had this printed really large and I had it on my university wall just because I need this reminder so much because I take things super, super seriously. And what happens when you do that is you end up suffocating yourself and you suffocate the joy out of things. You suffocate the good stuff, the excitement, the process enjoyment of things. And you're just in this rushed, desperate, cramped space of your own making. Take a deep breath, unclench your jaw, relax your shoulders, pet your purring cat in your lap. You will never have this version of you again. So let yourself slow down and just be with yourself. I mean, cats really know how to do it right. What do you have to say about all of this conversation, Nettie? Wow, interesting. Maybe it's not that you've been cheated out of an unlimited supply of time. Maybe it's almost incomprehensibly miraculous to have been granted any time at all. Now, if you enjoyed this video, you might enjoy my journey to becoming a cozy entrepreneur. Definitely super relevant with what is talked about in this book as well. You can click here to watch it. If you click it, YouTube knows that I'm doing a good job at making content. So yeah. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Okay, bye.